Okay, this is probably going to be in at least two parts because there is a whole lot under the surface with this Kendrick and Drake battle. Now, of course, everybody's now saying the battle and Kendrick has won. I would agree. But I'm going to work from the end of it and kind of go backwards and then get into these rabbit holes. Okay? So I'm going to start with Kendrick's track, Not Like Us, where he basically comes straight out the gate, letting everybody know, look, Drake is, he has a fondness for young girls. He names names, basically points the finger at someone who in Drake's camp who is a registered offender, and that is public knowledge. Um, And the cover art included an aerial shot of Drake's home. Keep that in mind because that's going to be important in later on. Um, so in Drake's prior diss in Family Matters, he brought up the allegations that Kendrick laid hands on Whitney. And Kendrick actually did not respond to that part, but he goes into detail about Drake's fondness for young girls and a lot of dirt that's going on within the OVO camp. So then when Drake dropped The Heart Part 6, and I'll give him credit, that was kind of that was a creative move to hijack Kendrick's title, but he comes out basically in defensive mode. He's saying, he just says, well, the allegations that he likes young girls aren't true, and he's like, I wouldn't look twice at a teenager. Problem with that is there's actual video of him hugging and kissing on a teenager, even after he knew he kissed her on the mouth, even after he knew she was a teenager, and talked about how thick she was and all of that. So that doesn't fly. And also, he brought up the name Millie Bobby Brown, who Kendrick never mentioned a name, mind you. He just said that Drake likes him young. Drake brought up the name Millie Bobby Brown, who is now, I think she's like 20 or 21 now. But when she first started talking to Drake, she was 14. She talked about how they texted each other and he would text her and talked about how much he missed her. He was in his 20s at the time. That's kind of ick. Really ick. Why is a 20-something texting a 14-year-old saying, oh, I miss you and blah, blah, blah. And there are other young women that he has been tied to who were teenagers when he started talking to them. So this is something that's well known, which is kind of funny because I've got Aubrey's Angels coming at me on the tube of views saying, well, Kendrick should prove it. Kendrick doesn't have to prove it. The proof is out there. And his Drake's excuse is, well, if I were doing that, then I would have been arrested by now. I'm too famous for that. As if R. Kelly doesn't exist. It took 30 some odd years before he actually got arrested, and we knew about it back in the 90s. There are plenty of others. You can go back decades. Google how old Priscilla was when she married Elvis. This is not new, and many famous people have done this and gotten away with it. Some never got arrested for it. So that is about the lamest excuse he could possibly come up with. And what was really striking to me was the fact that Drake brought that up after the so-called hidden daughter accusation, which I think is the least of the two. But he says, well, first he says the people that fed Kendrick the story about the 11-year-old daughter, that they were clowns. But then a few lines later, he says, well, we plotted it for a week. So wouldn't that make you one of the clowns, Drake? That wasn't well thought out. And some people are saying the reason why this was so sloppy was because he was forced to write it himself because the ghostwriters didn't have time to come up with it. And then there was the date that Drake actually dropped the Heart Part 6. He dropped it on Cinco de Mayo. Now, word on the street had been that Kendrick was going to drop something that day. So to me, it seems like Drake rushed and put this together so he could try to one up Kendrick, and he fell right into Kendrick's trap, it seems like. Because not only did Kendrick not drop another diss, he actually took down copyright um, so that YouTube creators could actually use his music without getting demonetized or getting copyright strikes. I'm telling you, Kendrick is always playing 3D chess. He is not, he ain't dumb on any level. And then there's also the fact that Drake is doubling down on these allegations that Kendrick is supposedly DV, that he committed DV against Whitney. And he brings up the fact, well, Whitney never said anything. Well, I don't know Whitney, but I know for me, if someone makes an accusation and I know it's not true, I don't say anything. I don't give it weight. Why respond to something if it's not true? Which again, Drake making this song trying to defend, oh, I'm not a P3DO, kind of makes it look like he might just be a P3DO. Now, I'm going to make a part two because this is getting kind of long. I'm going to make a part two to talk about the allegations that one of Kendrick's children may not be his. I have a theory behind why Drake might be saying that and why it would be wrong. And what Okay, now I left off talking about the DV allegations that Drake has made against Whitney. The fact that neither of them have responded to that tells me that there's probably no truth to it, and there certainly isn't any buzz about it. Nobody who knows them has ever said anything about it. And there's a lot of clout chasers out there. If anybody knew anything, it would have been said by now, especially since this is something that happened years ago. But, Drake kept using the Bobby Whitney thing because of, the relationship. We all know about the Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston relationship. So, that to me, that's like, Drake throwing shots to deflect from what he has been accused of. Now, as far as the hidden daughter, now I'm not going to post her social media because she is a child and I don't want to invite any unwanted traffic to her social media. But it's kind of funny though, when this came out, her name came up and Kendrick actually dropped her name. And again, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to send people to her page, but her mother has made posts on social media that she doesn't come right out and say that Drake is the daddy, but she drops a lot of hints that Drake is the daddy. So there's that. But another bit of tea I found in going down these rabbit holes is that Adonis may not be his only son. Allegedly. There was a young woman who had sued. Drake for SA. This was some years ago. They settled out of court for $350,000. She since scrubbed all of her social media, but we know screenshots and downloads are forever. And there have been some bloggers on the Tube of You who have resurfaced some of those interviews where she talked about it. And at the time, she said she was pregnant. And she said that Drake was the daddy. There are pictures. And I saw the pictures with my own eyes. And then when I tell you, you put Drake's childhood picture next to this child, you swear you're looking at twins. But again, I will say allegedly because, we don't have actual DNA. So this is speculation. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of breadcrumbs that are leading to something here. Now, another thing that another point that Drake keeps pushing is the idea that one of Kendrick's children may not be his, and that his manager, Dave Free, may actually be the daddy. Now, he based that on the fact that Dave Free left a heart comment on a picture of the child. This proves nothing. Because if you know that Dave Free and Kendrick Lamar have been friends literally since childhood. How do we know that Dave Free isn't the child's godfather? I mean, we don't know, and that's by design because Kendrick keeps his private life very private, which is smart. But just because he left a heart comment on a child's picture, that doesn't prove anything. There is someone who leaves heart comments on my daughter's pictures. He's her godfather. Someone that I've known since the 90s. So there's that. But getting into what happened at Drake's house this morning. So this morning, there was a pew-pew outside of Drake's home. One of his bodyguards was actually hit, and last I heard he was in surgery. I don't have an update, but I will bring it as soon as I know. A lot of people are trying to say that this had something to do with Kendrick. I absolutely have no reason to believe that, and the reason why is because there has been an ongoing battle between the EXO camp, The Weeknd, and his camp, and OVO. A lot of people who are kind of on the inside and know more about it are pretty sure that what happened this morning had to do with that and had nothing to do with Drake. Now, moreover, I've heard that the restaurant that was referenced, New Ho King, the restaurant where famously Drake apparently was robbed or something. I don't know all the details, but that was the reason Kendrick brought that particular location up. Well, apparently that restaurant was also vandalized and somebody spray painted "They Not Like Us." I, again, don't believe that Kendrick actually had anything to do with that. And I'm not saying that just because, I'm just defending Kendrick, but it would make no sense. And it's not Kendrick style. Some people are speculating that it's possible that Drake staged it to try to make it look like Kendrick. Again, this is speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. And this is getting long too, so there's a part 3 coming. So in conclosing, I know this is a lot. The reason why everybody is pretty much saying the battle is over is because if you listen to Drake's last diss, and especially the monologue at the end of it, he basically waved the white flag. He's like, well, I don't even want to fight anymore, that kind of deal. But word on the street is the reason why he decided to go that route, that this was the way for him to back out, because he knew that Kendrick had more ready to go. And I fully believe he did. I don't think it's a coincidence that the buzz was so strong that Kendrick was going to drop something on Cinco de Mayo. And I think that was a chess move. I think he wanted to get the buzz out there to push Drake to say something, and Drake fell right into it. And to me, it fell on its face. Now, Aubrey's Angels are coming at me left and right. I don't care, because again, it's like, well, Kendrick doesn't have any proof. Well, show me the proof of anything Drake is saying. And Drake ended up contradicting himself in his own defense. So there's all of that. But great news for the hip hop content creators over there on the Tube of You. Kendrick actually dropped copyright on his music, so they can use his music and still get monetized and not get copyright strikes. So Kendrick is up any and every way you look at it. Now, for Aubrey's Angels out there that are saying, well, oh, you're just a hater and you just want to see a good man fall. No, I don't. I never take joy in anybody's downfall. Let's just start there. And I'm just saying that if any of those 14 to 17-year-old girls that he was talking to, if that had been your daughter, your sister, your niece, how would you feel about it? Or are you just giving him a pass because he's Drake? And someone even posed the question to me, well, what if it comes out that it's true Kendrick put his hands on Whitney? I would look at him in a different light. I absolutely would, because there's no excuse for DV. See, that's the difference between a fan and a stan to me. You can be a fan of somebody's music, but understand that they are not perfect. They are human beings just like the rest of us. Yes, I like Kendrick. I've been a fan of Kendrick since the beginning. But I'm not going to, stan over him, because he's a human being just like I am. But he makes damn good music, and I'm going to support him because he makes good music. And as far as I know, he's not out here doing anything questionable. However, I was a fan of Drake as well. Can't say that now, because of different things that have come out about him that make me look at him in a different light. So that's pretty much my breakdown. There's so much, and I'm kind of hoping that this is really over for now. But I do want to add this. I actually did a post earlier where I shouted out Macklemore. He has a new song out, pro watermelon people. You know what I mean? I got to watch my words here on this clock app. But I do appreciate that. What I don't like is the fact that he inserted Kendrick and Drake's names into it. I feel like he's kind of using that battle to kind of give himself a push, which he didn't need to do. He could have left their names out of it and just spoke on the subject. But I say all of that to say, hip hop is winning right now. Hip hop is definitely winning. I have, because of the reaction videos to the Kendrick and Drake disses, I have found some wonderful content creators over on the Tube of You, and I've added a lot of great content to my playlist. So I just appreciate where hip hop is right now, and I love to see it, man. I have not been this engaged with a hip hop beef since Tupac and Biggie. And before that, it was when NWA split up and they were taking shots at each other. So I'm loving where hip hop is right now, and I hope, again, keep it going in this direction. But please, I don't want to see any more violence. And I really was. I was really upset when I heard what happened this morning, and especially to find out that someone actually was pew-pewed in the whole situation. We don't need violence, y'all. Keep it in the music. Peace. Two last important points that kind of are important in the whole thing.